We give praise, esteem, and honor to the Most High Yah by way of Yahushua HaMashiach, John 5:39. It says, search the scriptures, for in them you think you have eternal life, and they are they which testify of me, and you will not come to me that you might have life. I receive not honor from men, but I know you, that you have not the love of Elohim in you. I come in my Abba's name, and you receive me not. If another shall come in his own name, him you will receive. How can you believe which receive honor one of another? And seek not the honor that come from Elohim only. Do not think that I will accuse you to Abba. There is one that accused you, even Moses, in whom you trust. For had you believed Moses, you would have believed me, for he wrote of me. But if you believe not his writings, how shall you believe my words? So let's take ourselves to Proverbs chapter 19. Proverbs chapter 19. Proverbs chapter 19 and verse 1 is where we'll begin. Better is the poor that walk in his integrity than he that is perverse in his lips and is a fool. Also, that soul be without knowledge, it is not good, and he that hastes with his feet sin. The foolishness of man pervert his way, and his heart fret against Yahuwah. Wealth make many friends, but the poor is separated from his neighbor. A false witness shall not be unpunished. He that speak lies shall not escape. Many will entreat the favor of the prince, and every man is a friend to him that give gifts. All the brethren of the poor do hate him. How much more do his friends go far from him? He pursue them with words, yet they are wanting to him. So the reason why we went all the way down to verse 7, because we're going to be talking about little things dealing with the poor again. We dealt with this not too long ago. Going to attack it again from a different angle. But when we look at it, he says that the poor man in his integrity, that walk in his integrity, is better than a person who is perverse in his lips and is a fool. When we look at the word integrity, we have Tom. So we have Ta and the Ma'im, Tom. So when we come with this, we begin to see that you have the covenant of water, so a covenant of life, the covenant of the Ruach. When a person walks in their integrity and they've humbled themselves, then they're walking in the covenant of life, which is in Yahushua HaMashiach. So let's sit back and let's look at Hebrews chapter 8. Hebrews chapter 8, right? 8 and 5, I should surmise. Who serve unto the example and shadow of things of Shamahim, as Moses was admonished of Elohim when he was about to make the tabernacle. For see, saith he, that thou make all things according to the pattern shown to thee in the mount. But now if he obtained a more excellent ministry, but how much also he is the mediator of a better covenant, which was established upon better promises. For if that first covenant had been faultless, then should no place have been sought for the second. For finding fault with them, saith, behold, the days cometh, saith Yahuwah, when I will make a new covenant with the house of Yasharal and with the house of Yehuda, not according to the covenant that I made with their fathers in the day when I took them by the hand to lead them out of Mizraim, because they continue not in my covenant, and I regarded them not, saith Yahuwah. For this is the covenant that I will make with the house of Yasharal. After those days, saith Yahuwah, I will put my Torah into their minds, I will write them in their hearts, and I will be to them an Elohim, and they shall be to me a people. So then you look at it, he's going to make you're walking in integrity, you're walking in the seal or the mark of the Spirit. So blessed is a poor man. It could be Dal, it could be Abion, or Rush, using that particular passage for poor. You want to be walking in integrity or walking in the seal or the mark of life or the Ruach HaKodesh. So how will we do this? Galatians chapter 5. Now again, he said this is better than a person who is perverse and is a fool. So an individual who is humble or lowly is going to be better in the eyesight of Yahuwah than someone who is a fool who speaks perverse things with his lips. When you look at speaking perverse things, that's spewing lies and things of carnality and unrighteousness. So Galatians 5, which is just a very simple thing what we're looking at, then we're going to go to the next thing. 5 and 22. But the fruit of the Ruach is love, joy, shalom, long-suffering, gentleness, goodness, faith, meekness, temperance. Against such there is no Torah. They that are Mashiachs have crucified the flesh with the affections and lusts. If we live in the Ruach, let us walk in the Ruach. So again, it say, blessed is a poor man who's better in his integrity. Shalom, brother. In his integrity. So let's look at something, right? How do I want to attack that? Let's come over here to Luke for a moment. I'm trying to gather how I want to attack that of showing a poor man walking in his integrity versus someone who was perverse in their lips. This is how I do it. Matthew chapter 21. I might have to hit Matthew 11. I'm right behind it. Matthew chapter 21. Let me see what it is, where it's at that I want to use. Matthew chapter 21. Verse 23. I'll do it like that. When he was come into the temple, the chief priests and the elders of the people came unto him as he was teaching and said, by what authority do thou these things? And who gave thee this authority? Yahushua answered and said unto them, I also will ask you one thing, which if you tell me, I will likewise tell you by what authority I do these things. The immersion of John, whence was it? From Shamahim or of men? And they reasoned with themselves, saying, if we shall say from Shamahim, he will say unto us, why did you not then believe him? But if we shall say of men, we fear the people, for all hold John as a prophet. Now let's come over here to John chapter 11. Matthew chapter 11, I'm sorry. Because when we look at John, John would be an example of a poor man walking his integrity, being better than perverse men who tell lies with their lips. Matthew chapter 11, verse 7. And it says, and as they departed, Yahushua began to say unto the multitudes concerning John, what went ye out in the wilderness to see? A reed shaken with the wind? But what went you for out to see? A man clothed in soft raiment? Behold, they that wear soft clothing are in kings' houses. But what went you out for to see? A prophet? Yea, I say unto you, more than a prophet. Behold, this is he whom it is written, behold, I send my messenger before thy face, which shall prepare thy way before thee. Truly I say unto you, among them that are born of women, there have not risen greater than John the Baptist. Notwithstanding, he that is least in the kingdom of Shamahim is greater than he. So why is this important? Because they say, blessed is the poor man who walketh his integrity than him who is perverse in his lips. Let's back ourselves up to Matthew chapter 3. The reason why we read 11, because it stated that he was the greatest prophet ever. Remember his right, we could go read in Luke, right? Where it says that he received the Ruach HaKodesh in the womb. So there was a seal of the Ruach, or the seal of, we'll have to look at it. Let's look at Luke chapter 1 now and do it like that. Let's just look at Luke chapter 1. We'll use that there because before Yahushua came on the scene, the scribes and the Pharisees had a problem with John the Baptist. Luke chapter 1 and verse 5. There was in the days of Herod, the king of Yehuda, a certain priest named Zacharias of the course of Abia, and his wife was of the daughters of Aaron, and her name was Elizabeth. And they were both righteous before Elohim, walking in all the commandments and ordinances of Yahuwah blameless. They had no child because Elizabeth was barren, and they were now well stricken in years. It came to pass that while he executed the priest's office before Elohim in the order of his course, according to the custom of the priest's office, his lot was to burn incense. And when he went into the temple of Yahuwah, and the whole multitude of the people were praying without at the time of incense. And there appeared unto him a Malach of Yahuwah standing on the right side of the altar of incense. And when Zacharias saw him, he was troubled, and fear fell upon him. But the Malachim said unto him, Fear not, Zacharias. Oh, I don't speak Spanish, so I'm going to have a hard time reading that. For thy prayers is heard, and thy wife Elizabeth shall bear thee a son, and thou shalt call his name John. And thou shalt have joy and gladness, and many shall rejoice at his birth. For he shall be great in the sight of Yahuwah, and shall drink neither wine nor strong drink, and he shall be filled with the Ruach HaKodesh, even from his mother's womb. So, come back to Matthew 3. Now, we're going to use this part of Matthew 3 to sit back and look at of how that he was better than those men who were coming with perverse lips, because those men were coming out there for a different reason. Matthew 3:1 is fine. In those days came John the Baptist preaching in the wilderness of Yehuda, saying, Repent ye, for the kingdom of Shamaim is at hand. For this is he that was spoken of by the prophet Isaiah, saying, The voice of one crying in the wilderness, Prepare ye the way of Yahuwah, make his path straight. The same John had his raiment of camel's hair, and a leathern girdle about his loins, and his meat was locusts and wild honey. Then went out to him Jerusalem, and all Yehuda and all the region round about Jordan were immersed of him in Jordan, confessing their sins. But when he saw many of the Pharisees and Sadducees coming to his immersion, he said unto them, O generation of vipers, who have warned you to flee from the wrath to come, bring forth fruits meet for repentance. Now he ends up calling these men. There's another part of where Yahushua made the statement that if the baptism of John was from Elohim, why didn't you do it? See, the scribes didn't even answer him, because they feared that if they answered him, he'd say, why wouldn't you do it? Why didn't you do it? Then they would turn around and say, they thought to themselves, well, all the people regarded John as a prophet, they may stone us. So you sit back and look at that, because what was their perversion of the lips that made them a fool is because they were trying to promote themselves greater than Elohim himself, to the point where they couldn't humble themselves to be able to repent and serve Yahuwah. John the Baptist is coming through, walking in his integrity, walking in Tam or Ta and the Ma'im, and showing that the seal or the mark of the Ruach is upon him. The seal and the mark of the covenant is on him. Dang, I missed that. I'm sorry. You're going to have to type that again. Y'all type that. I guarantee you I may not catch it. I don't really be looking at that live chat like that. I don't be looking at the screen, I should say. So, we want to make sure that, because remember, you're talking about someone who's poor. So you can look at, then that's Rush. There's someone who's low, weak, thin, afflicted, things of that nature. You've seen that John, he dwelt in the wilderness. His diet was wild locusts and honey. And then you have that Rosh, and you have that U and that Shan. So you see someone who's pairing themselves to the sacrifice of the head when you're poor, when you're hungry. Because a lot of times when you look at poor in the word, it doesn't always necessarily reflect someone who lacks finance. It can mean that. Don't take that the word doesn't mean that, but sometimes it could just mean someone who is lowly or humble, or someone who's being afflicted. So it's telling you, you know, blessed are those who are lowly and are humble, who walk in the integrity of the word, versus somebody who's perverse in their speech. See, let's look at an example of that. 2 Peter chapter 2. And then James. And then we come back to Proverbs 19. Oh, do I got that page? Do I got that page? I got that page. 2 Peter, right? Chapter 2, verse 17. Look what he say, right? These are wells without water, and clouds that are carried with the tempest in the midst of darkness is reserved forever. For when they speak great swelling words of vanity, they allure through the lust of the flesh, through much wantonness. Those that were clean escape from those who live from error. While they promise them freedom, they themselves are servants of corruption. For of whom a man is overcome, of the same he is brought into bondage. So you have to be careful with that. It's the same thing we looked at last week, right? Satan came with perverse lips, telling a lie. Telling a lie. So you have to sit back and actually, so you got to sit back and look at who's greater. Because you don't, and some people sit back and look at, okay, you know, we was going to get James 5, don't worry about it. Because, you know, he said he resists the proud and give grace, mercy, kanan, whichever you want to look at it, to the humble, favor, pity. You know what I'm saying? He's not going to necessarily show pity to somebody who has lifted themselves up. See, a lot of people feel like some people get lifted up with knowledge. People only get lifted up with knowledge when they feel like I'm better than you because I know something that you don't. Sometimes people have underlying insecurities and they're really upset that someone knows something that they don't. And they're envious and jealous of them. This is what came in with the scribes and the Pharisees. This is another reason why they were perverse in their lips, because they spoke perverse things in order to get this man killed. Because they went and they brought false witnesses and they brought false charges and they were perverse in their lips. This man was poor and he was walking in integrity. Come on back to Proverbs chapter 19. So you have to look at that. Because like I said, they allure through the wantonness of the flesh. Men who have a perverse lip, of a perverse tongue, a perverse speech, are always going to try to draw you and allure to your base desires, to your carnal desires. Whatever it is carnally that you desire, that's what they're going to appeal to. Verse 2 in Proverbs 19, just to read back and reiterate, he tells you that the soul that be without knowledge, it's not good for you. Pause. Let's sit back and look at why. 1 Corinthians 15. First Corinthians 15 and 33. 1 Corinthians 15 and 33. 1 Corinthians 15 and 33. Be not deceived, evil communications corrupt good manners. Awake to righteousness and sin not, for some have not the knowledge of Elohim. I speak this to your shame. So it's not good for you to walk around without knowledge. The reason why when we say it's not good, when we talk about knowledge, we're not talking about, pause, 1 Corinthians chapter 2. We're not talking about the knowledge of the world. After 1 Corinthians 2, John 6 and 44. That ain't what we're talking about. We ain't talking about the knowledge of the world. Because he said, some of you have not the knowledge of Elohim. I speak this to your shame. You know, the knowledge of his righteous servant going to justify many. So we ain't talking about no knowledge of the world. That ain't what we're talking about. So please let that be known. Verse that I want. There we go. Verse 10. 1 Corinthians 2 and 10. But Elohim have revealed them unto us by his Ruach, for the Ruach search all things, yea, the deep things of Elohim. For what man know the things of a man, save the Ruach of a man which is in him? Even so the things Elohim know no man, but the Ruach of Elohim. Now we have received not the Ruach of the world, but the Ruach which is of Elohim, that we might know the things that are freely given to us of Elohim. Which things also we speak, not in the words which man wisdom teach, but which the Ruach HaKadosh teach, comparing spiritual things with spiritual. But the natural man receive not the things of the Ruach of Elohim, for they are foolishness unto him, neither can he know them, because they are spiritually discerned. He can't even spiritually recognize these things. Come on back to Proverbs chapter 19. So it's not good for a soul to be without knowledge. Because if you're without knowledge, then you are without the justification of salvation. That knowledge is the gospel of Yahushua HaMashiach. It is not the soul that without, it's not good for you, because you will not be saved. Your soul cannot be spared on the last day, because where the Ruach of Mashiach is, there is freedom. Whoever doesn't have that Ruach doesn't belong to Yahuwah. He told you plainly in the 53rd chapter of Isaiah that the knowledge of his righteous servant would justify many. You're seeking a justification. If you do not have that knowledge, it is not good for your soul. You have to have it. You can't be saved without it. I mentioned John 6 and 44. Let me get that. John 6 and 44. No man can come to me except Abba, which hath sent me, draw him. I'll raise him up at the last day. It is written in the prophets that they all shall be taught of Elohim. Every man that have heard and have learned of Abba, come unto me. Everybody's got to come unto him. So you need that knowledge of this, or it's not good for your soul. He also tells you, and he that hates with his feet, sin. So when you quit on the draw, you don't got no patience. You can't wait on Yahuwah. You got to do it in your time. Do it when you want to do it. It's got to be done how you want it to be done, when you want it to be done. You commit sin with that. Don't haste with your feet. Slow your feet down a little bit. Verse 3. Say the foolishness of man pervert his way and his heart fret against Yahuwah. So that's pretty self-explanatory. Say, but listen to this here, right? Wealth make many friends, but the poor is separated from his neighbor. So when we look at the poor being separated from his neighbor, we turn around and we see that that word for separated is parad. And that's the pay, the rosh, and the dalet. So we sit back and we see this one here. You have the words or the commands or the chief, and you have the move around or the hanging of the door. So you turn around as you see that what separates you from your neighbor? What separates that poor man? And it's the word. Because you have that pay, you have that mouth, you have the words, you have the commands, you have that roster, you have the head, you have that door. So these words of the highest or the chief or the first allow you to enter into the door. This is what is going to separate you. See, I mentioned this to a brother earlier today. Look at this here, right? Come over here to number 16, just to come over here and with it. Because a brother was talking about this today. We know we don't unify. When is Israel going to unify? Unify. But you have to understand that if you're a humble individual, this is going to separate you from your neighbor. This may not necessarily bring you to everyone close to you, and that's just the reality of the situation. That's not to say that people can't come together or there's not going to be any unity in the body of Mashiach. That's not what's being stated. What's being stated is that the word says that a poor man will be separated from his neighbor, and that the rich have many friends. This is what it's saying. So if you know that you're poor and you're humble and you're lowly and you're being afflicted for the word's sake, this will separate you from your neighbor. And you're separated from your neighbor because you're being hung, or you're entering into the door by the chief because of his commands or because of the word. The word is going to separate you. 16:4, Numbers. And when Moses heard it, he fell upon his face, and he spake unto Korah and to all his company, saying, even tomorrow Yahuwah will show who are his, who is Kadesh, and will cause him to come near unto him, even him whom he have chosen will he cause to come near unto him. So at this particular juncture, we could look at an example of this right here, right? Cain and Abel. Poor man that separated him from his neighbor. His humility to serve Yah separated him from his brother to the point his brother killed him. When you turn around and you look at David, David's humility separated from Saul to the point that Saul wanted to kill him. So, but what separated both of these men, it was their obedience or even to the point of hanging. Matter of fact, come over here, right? What is it, Deuteronomy? What is it, Deuteronomy 18, Deuteronomy 7? Come on, Ryan, man. It's Deuteronomy 7, man. It's not Deuteronomy 18, I don't think. It's Deuteronomy 11. Praise God for the word. It's Deuteronomy 11. Deuteronomy 11. Deuteronomy 11. And 18. Say, therefore shall you lay up these my words in your heart and in your soul, and bind them for a sign upon your hand, that they may be frontlets between your eyes. And you shall teach them your children, speaking of them when thou sit in thine house, and when thou walk by the way, when thou lie down, and when thou rise up. Thou shalt write them upon the doorposts of thine house and upon thy gates, that your days may be multiplied, and the days of your children in the land which you have sworn to your fathers to give them, as the days of Shamahim upon their rats. For if you shall diligently keep all these commandments, which I command you to do them, to love Yahuwah your Elohim, and to walk in all his ways, and to cleave unto him, then will Yahuwah drive out these nations from before you, and you shall possess greater nations and mightier than yourselves. Notice that he told you that these very words that you ought to teach your children, that you should hang them upon your doorposts. So, or write them upon your doorposts. So we see that again with that parad, because when you see this here, you got that dalet or the hanging on the door. Then you have the pay in the same instance and the rosh, because it's the chief command that is telling you to hang this on the door of your home, of your tabernacle, of your house. That house being your body. We started in Hebrews chapter 8. So that means you need to hang this man's word in your house. Hang it on the door. Hang the words of Yahusha on the door, which is in your heart, with your eyes, with your mind, because these are the things that you allow things to enter into your soul. We talk about it regularly. Guard your heart, because out of the issues of life proceed out of them. So you have to protect the door to your soul. If you hang the words of the chief, or if you hang Yahusha on the doorposts of your soul, then that will cause you to be separated from your neighbors. Why will this cause you to be separated from your neighbors? Hebrews chapter 13. Hebrews 13 and 8. Yahushua HaMashiach, the same yesterday, today, and forever. Be not carried about with diverse and strange doctrines, for it is a good thing that the heart be established with grace, not with meats, which have not profited them that have been occupied therein. We have an altar whereof they have no right to eat, which serve the tabernacle. For the bodies of those beasts whose blood is brought into the sanctuary by the high priest for sin are burned without the camp. Wherefore Yahushua also, that he might sanctify the people with his own blood, suffered without the gate. Let us go therefore unto him without the camp, bearing his reproach. So, if you're going to humble yourself in the faith of Yahushua and serve him, this very well may cause you to be separated from your neighbor. I can't tell you who to be separated from and who would not be separated from. But if we was to sit back and look at it for separation from your neighbor, we're talking about separation from people who claim to be in the faith. Why so? Mashiach said, I didn't come to bring division, to bring shalom. I came to bring a sword to set a man at variance. See, we could want a lot of things. We could desire a lot of things. But is it according to the will of Elohim? That should be your first question. That should be your first thought. When we look at the word and we see this here, the poor or the humble in the word have always been afflicted. They've always been separate from everybody else. It's always been that way. This is not nothing new. I ain't telling you nothing new. I'm not telling you nothing other than what the word says. If you believe that, praise the Lamb. If you don't believe it, praise the Lamb. Either way it goes, Yah's will is going to be accomplished. See, look at this section, right? Hebrews chapter 11, right? And we'll just look at some of these men that's mentioned in Hebrews 11, because you know it's Wednesday, so I can't go into greatest of detail. And you can see how these men were separated, who are going to be mentioned by name. Hebrews 11 and 32. What shall I more say? For the time would fail me to tell of Gideon, separated. Barak, separated. Samson, separated. Jephthah, separated. Jephthah was put out of his house because they said that the child of a whore will not inherit. David, separated. He was separated from Saul. Then he was separated from his own family. Samuel and of the prophets, who through faith subdued kingdoms, wrought righteousness, obtained promises, stopped the mouth of lions, quenched the violence of fire, escaped the edge of the sword, out of weakness were made strong, waxed valiant in flight, turned to flight the armies of the aliens. Women received their dead raised to life again. Others were tortured, not accepting deliverance, that they may obtain a better resurrection. Others had a trial of cruel mockings and scourgings, yea, moreover, bonds and imprisonment. They were stoned, they were sown asunder, were tempted, were slain with the sword. They were wandered about in sheepskins and goatskins, being destitute, afflicted, tormented, of whom the world was not worthy. And they wandered in deserts and mountains and dens and the caves of the earth. These were humble and afflicted men who, because they were poor men, were separated from their neighbor. And Yah said the world was not worthy of these men. Weren't worthy of these men. Let that sink into your heart. It said these men were destitute, which means they ain't had no money. They were afflicted. Look at Elijah. He was a poor man. He was separated from his neighbor because he preached the word of Yahuwah. That caused him to be separate from everyone. He said, you might as well go ahead and kill me because they killed all your prophets and only I remain. Come on back to Proverbs 19 because I could go all night on that, and we can't do that tonight. Y'all willing, we carry it over to the next day. Verse 5, right? Proverbs 19, a false witness shall not be unpunished. He that speak lies shall not escape. Many will entreat the favor of the prince. Every man is a friend to him that give gifts. So every man is a friend to him that give gifts. It's mean as simple as this. Yahushua say, you are my friends if you do whatsoever I command you. He took captivity captive and received gifts from men. So, and y'all willing, we'll come back and visit that at another time. Every man gonna be a friend to a person who give gifts. If you want to get the gifts of Yahushua, you got to become his friend, because you want to entreat the favor of the prince or the grace of the prince. So that's a whole nother thing. We revisit that. We can't get to that right now. Verse 7. Y'all willing, we'll get on that. All the brethren of the poor do hate him. How much more do his friends go far from him? Actually, I can work it right now. He pursue them with words, yet they are wanting to him. So many entreat the favor of the prince. Let's look at people entreating the favor of the prince. John chapter 9. No, I mean, I want John chapter 9. John chapter 9 is a tad bit different. We can swing to John chapter 3, though. John 3 is what I need. John 3 is what I need. We'll use John 4, though. 4 and 43. John 4 and 43. Now after 2 days he departed thence and went into Galilee. For Yahushua himself testified that a prophet have no honor in his own country. Then when he came into Galilee, the Galileans received him, having seen all the things that he did at Jerusalem at the feast. But they also went unto the feast. So Yahushua came again to Cana of Galilee, where he made the water wine. And there was a certain nobleman whose son was sick at Capernaum. And when he heard that Yahushua was come out of Yehuda into Galilee, he went unto him and besought him that he would come down and heal his son, for he was at that point of death. Then Yahushua said unto him, except you see signs and wonders, you will not believe. You know, that's a strong statement which Mashiach made right here. I've had a lot of people over a period of time say, how come we don't see the signs and wonders like are testified in the word? But let's look at what Yahushua just said again here in verse 48. Then Yahushua said unto him, except ye see signs and wonders, you will not believe. And that's a strong word, because when it comes down to these people, we want to see all the, like, you got to ask yourself a question, right? So if you did see somebody rise from the dead, meaning that a person who preached the word rose somebody from the dead, would it make you believe the word more than what you did before you saw it? Do you need to see that to believe? Because if you need to see that to believe, then your faith ain't really as solid as you think it is. Do you need to see fire come down from heaven? Do you need to see people healed, to walk again, or whatever the case may be? That's not minimalizing it and saying it don't have its place. And Yah willing, he give everybody the gift of healing if he saw fit. But like Yahushua just stated to this man's coming to him to heal his son, and he told him directly, except you see this, you wouldn't believe. Without this, you wouldn't even believe nothing I say. So then we have to pause and we have to think about that. Because he says, right, let me read it again. Many will entreat the favor of the prince. Many will entreat the favor of the prince. And every man is a friend of him that give gifts. Remember what he told the man in John 6? You only come because you saw the miracles and you ate loaves and you were filled. So everybody wants to come in and treat the favor of the prince, and everybody's going to be his friend when he got something to give. But notice when he ain't had none to give, as we going to get to, there was nobody there. Everybody was gone. Nevertheless, let's finish John chapter 4 though. The nobleman saith unto him, Sir, come down ere my child die. Yahushua saith unto him, Go thy way, thy son live. And the man believed the word that Yahushua had spoken unto him, and he went his way. And he was now gone down, and his servants met him and told him, saying, Thy son live. Then he inquired he of them of the hour when he began to amend. And they said unto him, Yesterday at the 7th hour the fever left him. So the father knew that it was at the same hour in which Yahushua said unto him, Thy son live, and himself believed, in his whole house. This is again the second miracle that Yahushua did when he was come out of Yehuda into Galilee. Ain't that something? He didn't believe on the man until he healed his son. He said once he seen his son was healed, he believed it. That's why he gave that testimony, and he bear witness to that. So we need to make sure in our mind, if we believe for the word's sake. See, hold on, Paul. Luke 16. Luke 16 and 27. Then he said, I pray thee, therefore, Father, that thou wouldst send him to my father's house. For I have 5 brethren, that he may testify unto them, lest they also come into this place of torment. Abraham saith unto him, They have Moses and the prophets, let them hear them. And he said, Nay, Father Abraham, but if one went unto them from the dead, they will repent. He said unto him, If they hear not Moses and the prophets, neither will they be persuaded, though one rose from the dead. If someone rose from the dead, true indeed, that is a miracle. Yahushua just told you in this parable that even if somebody rose from the dead, they got Moses and the prophets. You need to hear that. So this is reinforcing the fact that miracles ain't going to make you believe no word. That ain't going to make you believe no word. 1 Corinthians chapter 14, that ain't going to make you believe no word. Because guess what? Your forefathers saw miracles, didn't they? They saw the firstborn of Egypt slain. They saw the Red Sea parted. Manna rain from Shamahim. Quails rain from Shamahim. Water come out of a rock. And they still didn't believe. So miracles ain't going to make you believe. Let that be known. The law backed this up. He said, you do not believe except you see signs and wonders. Your forefathers seen signs and wonders, still didn't believe. But guess what? You had some people who didn't see no signs and wonders and believed on the strength of the word. See, that's what I had mentioned to the brother beforehand. The reason why a lot of people can't come together is because a lot of people don't really believe the word. How you going to be able to come together when we playing games? Niggas playing dress up. This ain't about being no Hebrew dress up, dog. This ain't about none of it. Man, look here, man. Everything got its place. But if you don't actually believe, trust, and hope in Yah with your whole mind, heart, and soul, you'll never prosper spiritually in the fashion that you desire. It's just not going to happen. It ain't going to happen. Well, you walking out of there strong. You feeling yourself? You done shaved your face? I thought you were going to let your beard grow back. You still around here looking like young color. You're 30 years old now. You want to look like grown color. You don't little boy no more. You're a grown man. Grown man. Think about that, though. Niggas got to see signs and miracles to believe. Ask yourself, 1 Corinthians 14, right? Probably about verse 30. Ask yourself, you need to see a sign and miracle? If y'all gave me the power to heal somebody today, that's going to make you believe on y'all stronger than what you did yesterday. If it did, y'all to go to hell. And not because for no other reason, then you would walk around claiming you believed in the man who you didn't believe in. Don't you know anything that is not a faith is sin? That's why I said it. Look at all your forefathers who died in the wilderness because they believed not. Don't play with your life like that. Make it verse 29. If you seen a brother today, he'll open the eyes of a blind man. Don't you know people, if you preach the gospel, you open the eyes of blind men all the time. You want to stop the ears of the deaf all the time. All the time. But if you physically could heal somebody who was blind, that's going to make you, I put it to you this way, then I'm going to read this verse and we're going to move on. I remember when we first seen the information about Pharaoh's chariot wheels at the bottom of the Red Sea that dated to that time period. And seeing the photographs of the rock that Moses split and the 12 pillars that he told Moses to lay. And for me, I ain't need to see none of it because I had already believed it on the strength that he said it was there. Do you know what I'm saying? Me seeing it like, okay, he left a witness behind. He left some evidence. But you got niggas, oh, this the one that always killed me. Well, where David them grave at? Well, shouldn't those who the living seek unto the living, unto the dead? Why you trying? So if you find this dead man grave, what that gonna do for you, man? You find Moses' grave. You find Elijah's grave. Now you're like, yeah, I know the Bible true. You ought to go to hell. You ain't never really believed it. I believe, this is my personal opinion, I believe one day y'all gonna let all these stupid niggas find these niggas' grave. You know what I'm talking about? There it is, nigga. They go to grave now. You gonna believe me now? Nah, I'll make your heart hard as concrete. You got to be careful with that type of stuff, man. I'm trying to tell you, man. You do what you want to do. 1 Corinthians 14:29. Let the prophet speak, 2 or 3. Let the other judge. If anything be revealed to another that sit by, let the first hold it shalom. So let me tell you something too, man. Because nigga be trying to use this verse right here to talk about when people sitting in the congregation in an assembly, that, I feel Yah to put a word on my heart. Nigga, stop lying, because he said prophets. If you ain't no prophet, that ain't got nothing to do with you. That ain't got nothing to do with you. Look what he said. Let the prophet speak 2 or 3 and let the other judge. If you not a prophet, that don't pertain to you. That don't mean you get to stand up and speak some word too. That's not what that means. He said, if anything be revealed to another that sit by, let the first hold it shalom. He said, for ye may all prophesy one by one, that all may learn and all may be comforted. And the ruachs of the prophets are subject to the prophets. For Elohim is not the author of confusion. Oh, I got to back it up, though. I missed my spot. That's my bad. Back it up to about verse 20. But nevertheless, though, that's for prophets. See, I ain't no prophet. So if I was sitting in somebody's assembly, it wouldn't matter if what the person was dropping. 1,000 precepts came to my head. I ain't no prophet. I'm not going to be like, oh, let me judge what this brother. No, man, that's not my position. I don't fill that office. Brethren, be not children in understanding, howbeit in malice be ye children, but in understanding be men. And the Torah is written, with men of other tongues and other lips will I speak unto this people, yet they will not hear me, saith Yahuwah. Wherefore tongues are for a sign, not to them that believe, but to them that believe not. But prophesying serve not for them that believe not, but for them which believe. If therefore the whole assembly be come together in one place and all speak with tongues, and there come in those that are unlearned or unbelievers, will they not say that ye are mad? But if all prophecy, and there come in one that believe not, or one unlearned, he is convinced of all, and he is judged of all. And thus are the secrets of his heart made manifest. So falling down on his face, he will worship Elohim and report that Elohim is in you of a truth. So that's what's supposed to happen. So the word is for those who believe. I don't need to see. He didn't say, oh, you see a miracle or sign, you're going to believe. That's what he said. Ain't what he said. Say tongues ain't for people who believe. It's for somebody who don't believe. So if you say you believe and you need to see that, that's an ugly matter. That's an ugly matter. But again, let's look at more people entreating the prince for favor. Entreating the prince for favor. How do we want to go at it? We got to use one more witness. Let's take ourselves, come on over here to Luke. We need one more witness. Well, we used him not too long ago, so we're not going to use him again. Let's go to Luke 7:36. We used him not too long ago. We're not going to use him. And one of the Pharisees desired that he would eat with him, and he went into the Pharisee's house and sat down to meat. And behold, a woman in the city which was a sinner, when she knew that Yahushua sat at meat in the Pharisee's house, brought an alabaster box of ointment, and stood at his feet behind him, weeping, and began to wash his feet with tears. And he did wipe them with the hairs of her head, and kissed his feet, and anointed them with ointment. Now when the Pharisee which had bidden him saw it, he spake within himself, saying, this man, if he were a prophet, would have known who and what manner of woman this is that touch him, for she is a sinner. Yahushua answering said unto him, Simon, I have somewhat to say unto thee. He saith, Master, say on. There was a certain creditor which had 2 debtors. The one owed 500 pence, and the other 50. And when they had nothing to pay, he frankly forgave them both. Tell me, therefore, which of them will love him most? Simon answered and said, I suppose he that to whom he forgave most. And he said unto him, Thou hast rightly judged. He turned to the woman and said, See thou this woman, I entered into thine house. Thou gave me no water for my feet, but she washed my feet with tears and wiped them with the hairs of her head. But this woman, since the time I came in, have not ceased to kiss my feet. My head with oil thou did not anoint, but this woman have anointed my feet with ointment. Wherefore I say unto thee, her sins which are many are forgiven, for she loved much. But to whom little is forgiven, the same love little. And he said unto her, thy sins are forgiven. She sat and she besought his mercy or his favor or his forgiveness, his kanan or his kana, however you want to put it. That's what she sought. Everybody friend to somebody who got gifts. That's what it said. They all friends of him who got gifts. Ephesians 4. That's why most of y'all only, that's why he said you only come because of the miracle. That's why most niggas only want to be friends with Yahushua anyway. You only want something from him. If he ain't had nothing to give besides eternal life, you wouldn't even want to be around him. Most people, they feel like they get what they want about you, they slide. They slide. I don't want nothing else out of this nigga. I can't get nothing from this nigga. I'm tired of this nigga. That's Ephesians 4. I'm in Galatians. I'm tripping. Ephesians chapter 4, man. Verse 7. But unto every one of us is given grace according to the measure of the gift of a Mashiach. Wherefore he saith, when he ascended up on high, he led captivity captive and gave gifts unto men. Now that he ascended, what is it? But that he also descended first into the lower parts of the arats. He that descended is the same also that ascended up far above all Shamahim, that he might fill all things. He gave some apostles and some prophets and some evangelists, some pastors and teachers, for the perfecting of the Chesed, for the work of the ministry, for the edifying of the body of Hamashiach. Now, of course, we know all the gifts, you know, the tongues, the governments, and, you know, prophecy and wisdom and faith and all of these things. The way you say, I call you not servants, but friends, if you do so whatsoever I command you, because you should want to be friends with the person who has the gifts. Well, if you, John 15, just to read it, and then we'll come back to Proverbs 19. John chapter 15. Verse 11, these things I've spoken unto you, that your joy might remain in you, that your joy might be full. This is my commandment, that you love one another as I loved you. Greater love have no man than this, that a man lay his life down for his friends. You are my friends if you do whatsoever I command you. Henceforth I call you not servants, for the servant know not what his master do. But I have called you friends, for all things that I've heard of my Abba I have made known unto you. Like, he done made all things known, so therefore we are his friends. Therefore, everybody want to be. And then when you look at entreat, and that's making supplication. Now, we got a word for supplication. See, pause. Come over here, right? Proverbs 18:23. I got a word. I don't know if it's the same word for supplication or entreat that we got here in the Proverbs 18:23. But we'll use this one here because I done already spelled it out. Proverbs 18:23, right? Say, the poor use entreaties, but the rich answer roughly. So when you're looking at entreaties, it means to make supplication. So when you sit back and say, many will entreat the favor, they're making supplication or making prayers. That's why he tell you, you men are always to pray and not to faint, and to pray without ceasing. So the word for entreaties is takun. You have a tau, a ka, a nun, a u. I'm sorry, a tau, a ka, a u, and a nun. No, that's actually two nuns, my bad. So when you look at this here, right, you're getting separated by this covenant of eternal life, and it's the sacrifice of eternal life which is separating you at this particular time. So when you look at Yahushua, it said that he was heard and that he feared, and that the author of our, captain of our salvation was made perfect through sufferings. Because it said the poor make entreaties, or the poor make supplications or make prayers. And people who are entreating favor, you're making supplication. We just talked about praying unto this man last week. And so if you want your, John chapter 9. I'm going to just go on and do it. Matter of fact, for John 9, Psalm 66. Because you know people say it's power in prayer. Prayer changes things. And that's very well true. Not if you're wicked, though. Not if you're wicked, though. Psalm 66 and 16. Come and hear, all ye that fear Elohim, and I will declare what he have done for my soul. I cried unto him with my mouth, and he was extolled with my tongue. If I regard iniquity in my heart, Yahuwah will not hear me. That's the first thing that we got to understand. If we regard any man of lawlessness, sin, transgression, evil in our heart, this man is not going to listen to you. He's not going to hearken unto your voice. So you have to let that be known. If you regard any iniquity in your heart, you need to purge it out. John chapter 9. Now, I mentioned y'all before. I remember the first time I read this, it didn't offend me in the least bit. John 9 and 28. Or 26. It didn't offend me in the least bit. Made perfect sense to me. Then they said to him again, what did he to thee? How opened he thine eyes? He answered them, I've told you already, and you did not hear. Wherefore would you hear it again? Will you be also his disciples? They knew this young man. This is what, again, the signs of miracles say. They knew this man was blind. Now he telling them that Yahushua opened his eye. They still didn't believe on the man. They reviled him and said, thou art his disciple, but we are Moses' disciple. We know that Elohim spake unto Moses, which is funny because they weren't there. As for this fellow, we know not from whence he is. Then the man answered and said unto them, why hearing is a marvelous thing that you know not from whence he is, yet he opened my eyes. Now we know that Elohim hear not sinners, but if any man be a worshiper of Elohim and do his will, him he hear. Since the world began, was it not heard that any man opened the eyes of one that was born blind? If this man were not of Elohim, he could do nothing. Listen to these niggas. They answered and said unto him, thou was altogether born in sins, and thou teach us? And they cast him out. That's a proud bastard right there. He ain't told them nothing wrong. And you know how we know he ain't telling nothing wrong? Because their response was, oh, you gonna teach us? He said, Elohim don't hear the prayers of sinners. So he said this man could be able to do nothing if it was not an Elohim. Y'all don't hear the cries of supplication. So if you want the favor of the prince, then you have to move to become his friend. And to become his friend, you got to do what he commands you. And the same way that Abraham became his friend, because he gave a command to Abraham to leave everything that he had and everything that he knew. He did it because he believed in whom he was serving. He did not stagger at the promise through unbelief. See, unbelief is wickedness. I don't care how much Sabbath you keep. I don't care how much pork you don't eat. I don't care how many garments you put on. I don't care how long your fringes are. I don't care how long your tzitzits are. None of that junk means nothing. But in my line, though, don't mean nothing. Because if you don't believe in this man, you wicked. You wicked. He said, man, man, exhort one another while today is called today, lest any one of you fall. Get Hebrew chapter 3, man. I just let you see it off the page. I'm trying to tell you, man, because if you believe, everything else going to fall in place. Everything else going to fall in place. Y'all willing, y'all be merciful. Everything else going to fall in place if you believe. I'm talking about with your whole mind, heart, and soul. That's why we're sitting back looking at it. Okay. The poor gets separated from his neighbor. Have you hung that word of the chief on your doorpost? Have you hung that word on the door, on your body, in your heart, in your tabernacle? Did you hang it up? Hebrews 3 and 12. Take heed, brethren, lest there be in any of you an evil heart of unbelief and departing from the living Elohim. But exhort one another daily while it is called today, lest any of you be hardened through the deceitfulness of sin. For we are made partakers of a Mashiach if we hold the beginning of our confidence steadfast unto the end. Because I'm telling you, boy, sin will deceive you, make your heart extra hard. Make your heart extra hard to the point where it will not be able to penetrate. And then you're not going to be able to make any entreaties to this man because he's not going to hearken to your voice. But when we look at verse 7, all the brethren of the poor do hate him. All the brethren of the poor do hate him. How much more do his friends go far from him? He pursued them with words, yet they are wanting to him. Now we're going to get something. See, I started in the direction, and we're going to work ourselves to just being poor. But I had to deal with this right here, right?
I missed it.
This is Proverbs 19 and 7. It wasn't no 9. There's chapter 3. All the brethren of the poor do hate him. Let's look at all the brethren of the poor do hate him. Genesis 37. Humble man. Say they hate that man. Hate that man. Genesis 37. Genesis 37. 37:1. Jacob dwelt in the land wherein his Abba was a stranger, in the land of Canaan. These are the generations of Jacob. Joseph, being 17 years old, was feeding the flock with his brethren, and the lad was one of the sons of Bilhah, with the sons of Zilpah, his father's wives. And Joseph brought unto his father their evil report. Now Yasharal loved Joseph more than all his children, because he was the son of his old age, and he made him a coat of many colors. And when his brethren saw that his father loved him more than all his brethren, they hated him, and they could not speak peaceably unto him. Now it says all the brethren hate the poor man. Hate him. They say they hated this man because Jacob loved Joseph more than him. The same way scribes and Pharisees really hated Yahushua, because they knew that Elohim, his Abba, loved him more than the rest of them. See, we see in an instance, right, of what we were talking about a couple weeks ago about a parent loving one child more than the others. You know what I'm saying? A lot of people feel like, oh, that ain't supposed to be. You're human. Y'all might not want to open your mouth and tip your cup, tip your hand, tip your cap. But yeah, a lot of people got a child they love more than the others. He just probably ain't going to say nothing. Verse 5, right? And Joseph dreamed a dream, and he told it his brethren, and they hated him yet the more. So now they hate him even more for his words. John chapter 15, because I'm running short. We're running out of time. John 15:22. I'm going to make it 15 and 20. 21 though. Well, 22 is fine. If I had not come and spoken unto them. If I had not come and spoken unto them, they had not had sin, but now they have no cloak for the sin. He that hate me, hate my Abba also. If I had not done among them the works which none other man did, they had not had sin. But now they have both seen and hated both me and my Abba. But this come to pass that the word might be fulfilled that is written in the Torah. They hated me without a cause. But when the Comforter is come, I will send unto you from Abba, even the Ruach of truth, which proceed from Abba, and he shall testify of me. So now, as we see, all the brethren of the poor do hate him. So what did we mention to y'all before, right? The poor is separated from his neighbor. So Hamashiach said, if they hated me, they gonna hate you too. He said, they hate me because I testify of the world that is evil. So all the brethren do hate him. But then it's this part right here, right? He said, how much more do his friends go far from him? So when you look at friends, the word is merah, and that's someone who is a companion or a confidential friend. The meme, the rosh, and the ayin. This is someone who has experienced the ruach of the chief. So what does this lead us to point to? Matthew 26. Just another testimony, another witness. Now, he didn't say that they hated him. His friend, they didn't say his friends hated him. They just said they dipped on him. Matthew 26 and 30. And when they had sung a hymn, they went into the Mount of Olives. Then saith Yahushua unto them, all ye shall be offended because of me this night, for it is written, I will smite the shepherd, and the sheep of the flock shall be scattered abroad. But after I am risen again, I will go before you into Galilee. Peter answered and said unto him, though all men shall be offended because of thee, yet I will never be offended. Yahushua said unto him, truly I say unto thee that this night before the cock crow, thou shalt deny me thrice. Peter said unto him, though I should die with thee, yet I will not deny thee. Likewise also said the disciples. So remember, right, reason why we can see this with disciples, with friends or companion or confidential friend, because they experienced and knew the ruach of the chief because they walked with him. He told them, you will be offended in me this night. They say, all the brethren of the poor do hate him. How much more do his friends go far from him? They left him. So you can't be shocked that if you poor, that'll cause you to be separated from your neighbors, because he ended up being separated from his neighbors or from his brethren. He was separated from them because of the word, because that pay is in there, that parah that's going to separate him. But then he said that he would pursue. Let me get that last part, right? We got to wrap this one up. He said he would pursue them with words. So that's to follow after. It also means to persecute. And this, that, there, and the third. Oh, that's a whole nother verse. Whole nother verse. Yeah, that's not a word in that verse. We're going to leave that right there alone. That's because I didn't drop all the way down. Because I did have another one. Yeah, I'll save that for later. So, when you look at pursue or follow after, and they'll be wanting him or want to come after him, it's the radaf, Rosh, Dalet, and Pei. So again, you see that word when you see that pursue. So you got that, the word or the commands of the chief of the door, or the chief that's going to cause you to enter into the door. They're pursuing after that. Well, let's see where they pursued it. Luke chapter 24. Let's see if they went and pursued some of that. See if they wanted a little bit of that word, little commands. See if they wanted to hear him open his mouth. See, some people don't want to hear the word. Some people just want a song and dance, clap and jump, sing and kiss, and all that other good old stuff. 24 and 25. Then he said unto them, O fools and slow of heart, to believe all that the prophets have spoken, ought not Hamashiach to have suffered these things to enter into his esteem? Beginning at Moses and all the prophets, he expounded unto them in all the scriptures the things concerning himself. And they drew nigh unto the village whither they went, and he made as though he would have gone further. But they constrained him, saying, Abide with us, for it is toward evening, and the day is far spent. And he went in to tarry with them. And it came to pass, as he sat at meat with them, he took bread, baruched it, brake it, and gave it to them. And their eyes were opened, and they knew him. And he vanished out of their sight. And they said one to another, Did not our heart burn within us while he talked with us by the way, while he opened us the scriptures? So when you see that there, he pursued or followed after them with the word. Because he was finna say that he done resurrected from the dead. He done came to these men, and he done hit him off with this word. He hit him off with the opening. The chief done opened his mouth and told him, this is what you need to do to get in the door, because he began to teach them that the whole book was about itself. But when you turn around and you look at Proverbs 19, many entreat the favor of the prince. We've seen a couple people who did that. And every man is a friend to him that give gifts. So the greatest gift is the Ruach HaKadosh, which a man will receive to be quickened to eternal life. You have to be a friend with this very poor man who has been separated from his neighbor in order to get these gifts. And now all the brethren of the poor do hate him. Because remember, he said, he came into his own received him not. Remember what we just read. He said they hated him without a cause. He said, how much more do his friends go far from him? We see the apostles, they departed from him. But yet this same poor man pursued them with words, and yet they were wanting to him. Yet they wanted him. They came back to follow after them. Their heart was burning after the word. So that's one aspect of what we're going to sit back and look at. Paul, we got some more. We got plenty. We can make it last for days. We can make it last for weeks. We're going to try not to do that. So, hallelujah for Yahushua's word. Appreciate everybody this evening. I hope everybody understood all of that. Bless everybody out the house of Yah. In the name of Yahushua, we're going to call it a day at this particular point. Good evening, good night, good rest, Yah willing. Catch you on the Shabbat.